What's up, y'all? It's your man, Stephen Bartle, coming at you with another edition of Bartle's Breakdown. I'm your host. And my guest today is someone that I'm really excited to bring on. One, because she's a female, and typically we have too many males on here. So I like to give some love to our ladies. But RJ White is owner of the Vipers Professional Basketball League. You heard that right. RJ White is a professional basketball franchise owner. And I'm so happy to have you here, RJ. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for taking time to join us. I think your story is fascinating. Let's start back from the beginning.
Okay.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Michigan, Pontiac, Michigan, and split between Jonesville, New Orleans, Louisiana.
Okay. And so I read something that like your dad was a track star or something like that. Is that accurate?
No, I ran track.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I ran track. Everybody yells at me because I'm 6 feet and a half, 6'4" with heels, and they're like, "Okay, why you ain't never played?" And I'm like, "Well, I really was more focused on the business side, the business acumen. My dad would support that theory. Going through in high school, I had the unique attitude where I had to focus. I had to focus more on calming down and focusing on the right things. So I literally had to, just place a better judgment on what I wanted out of life. And my dad was like, "Hey, opposed to you playing basketball, you've been saying you wanted to own a team since you were 6. Maybe you should focus on like the business operation sides of things." And he's like, in your free time, maybe you should, take that time to like go off and study and just take a look at the role of a general manager, take a look at the role of a CEO, and you tell me what you think. So I literally started indulging off into that, and I am where I am now.
So let me go back though. So what was the impetus? Because typically young ladies don't grow up thinking about owning professional sports teams. What was the spark there?
Yeah, I was like, I was born in '85, so I was more like that fat lever, like most underrated.
She said fat
Patrick.
lever. Wait a
Yeah, I
minute.
know. Every time I
RJ,
say
how
that,
old are you?
I'm only 34.
Oh my gosh, how do you pull out a fat lever reference?
I know. That's how far I'm into this. Like, I literally was a fan, and people, I still say his name till today, and people will be like, "Who is that?" Like, and I'm a Patrick Ewing fan, which is why my team is all about defense, mental dominance. Obviously, going up through the era with Ben Wallace and all those guys from the Detroit Pistons. So, I really had to I've been looking at where I wanted as far as the culture of a team since I was that young. So, Fat Lever is around the like 80s, 82 era, and I was born in 85. So, I wasn't even thought of at the time frame this man's legacy was coming up. But at 6 years old, this is my focus. So
So RJ,
yeah.
a lot of times people get inspiration from a particular person they watch or somebody they try to emulate. Was there a woman? Was there a man? Was there somebody that
No.
inspired you to go this route?
No, it was just a motivation and drive of what it is that I wanted to succeed. Like, I literally, like I said, I've been saying since I was 6, like watching, sitting in front of a TV screen, back then we didn't have the 4K and all that stuff, but, sitting in front of a TV screen and just watching like the inside and the B-roll footage of a team ownership, the huddles, the meetings, inside break, all of those things. I'm 6 years old watching like, man, I'm going on the team. I'm gonna have like my office over here, like I had it all lined up. Like, my pop will verify. Like, I done drew it out since I was a kid. Like, yeah, I really didn't need much motivation. I think I just knew at heart, like, this is what I wanted to do, and I'm gonna go get it.
So wait a minute. You being as tall as you are, how did you avoid playing basketball growing
You
up,
know what?
especially in high school?
I used to like go to the gym and like shoot around, like, after practice, during practice, things of that nature. And like the coach, which, rest his soul, which is Coach Green and Coach King, they both every day tried to recruit me. They were like, "Come on, you can just, you can just stand there. You ain't got to do nothing. Just put your hands on me."
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I'm like, nah, I'm okay. Like, it's just not my interest right now. Even though I knew at heart why I couldn't play. My dad was like, "Your attitude's bad. You ain't playing." Like, I don't have time to go through this with you. So I literally, had to just kind of put it on the burner and wonder, like, why do you have this attitude problem? What is, the issues here? And you know, after you go through that, you go through your, you know, teenage journey, especially as a woman, you just have to figure out like, okay, where's my prioritization and what do I want out of life, you know? So that's kind of what I did.
And then you ran track as well, correct?
Yeah, I ran track. I
Did you
ran
play?
track my 9th and 10th grade year.
Okay, what was your event?
I was 400 in cross country, and I was talking to that by one of my closest cousins. She's like, "You're too long to try to do like anything of a short distance. Just run cross country with me." So
Okay.
yeah, that's where all of that came from too. And I actually did great at it, so I can't complain.
Well, you must be tough because I ran the quarter in high school, and you know that monkey jumps on your back at that 300-meter mark, and
I know.
you know it separates the weak from the strong. That last 100 meters.
That's the mental dominance.
Yes.
Like for me, like I've literally, I don't know what it is. Like I literally could fight through it. I'm that way right now when it comes to things and projects. Like as long as my mind is focused on it, like, and you know, like I said, I feel like most teenagers, especially teenage females, they should invest in a sport, you know, during that 14 to 17 age. Like it'll help them be able to, you know, stay focused, keep their mind focused. You know, women, we have our hormones are,
Sure,
you know, all over the
sure.
place. We angry. We can't stand everybody at that time frame. I think that sports do help balance all of that out. So.
Wow, you guys are listening to Bartles Breakdown. I have RJ White, the owner of the Vipers men's professional basketball team. She's dropping gems on here, ladies and gentlemen. I like that in terms of having ladies be encouraged to be involved in a sport, because it's the same for guys, RJ, as you well know. Those hormone situations and too much temptation, you know, that foundation of sports can really provide a lot for kids coming up. So you leave high school. Where did you attend college? Did you hear me?
You know, I actually went to a private college, which was pretty much like online. Life choices, like I said, led me to being a parent. Like I literally was a teenage parent, 17, 18 years old. And I remember a lady, I will never forget it. She walked up to me at the doctor's office while pregnant with my oldest daughter. And she says, "Oh, you're a teenage mom." And I said, "Yeah." And like at the time frame, I had the law of physics and it was the law of life. It was 2 books. I had them in my head and I was reading them at the doctor's office. And she didn't see the books that I was reading, but she walked up and she was like, "Oh, well, you do understand that being a teenage parent, you won't really amount to anything. You'll become a statistic." Yeah, it was like really random. And I looked, and I'm like, okay. And like I sat down and I thought about it, and something was just like, you know what? Now more than ever, this is the one lady in your life that you definitely need to prove wrong. So I read both of those books, we'll say in less than 48 hours. And I launched my first business, which was a credit and debt counseling group, like shortly after. So,
okay.
And we became, you know, partnered with the military, and it just kind of went off from there. So yeah.
Where did you
I know.
Where did you develop this individual business mindset that you have? Because typically young people don't have that type of mindset. Where did you get that from?
I probably would say my mom and my dad. Like my mom has always had the spirit to be a independent business owner. And you know, she's had the opportunity to work some pretty great jobs, you know, like more of like the warehouse factory, because that's really what Michigan has to offer. You know, they're the industry of plant workers. But I seen her vision, and I always said, you know, like when you see somebody's vision and you kind of see them take multiple routes with their vision and working, I always figure I don't want to do the working route. I'm going to stick to the vision. So that's kind of where I went with that one. You know, watching your parents have multiple jobs, trying to afford to, you know, make ends meet. Growing up, depending on the environment that you grow up in, you definitely know that you can't live and die in the same place. You have to start making some moves in order for your legacy to begin. So
what I'm hearing, RJ, is that you're a teenage mom, you start your own company, and you just don't look back.
Yeah.
You just keep it moving.
No. Yeah. Like
so
I literally did. I told my parents, I said, I'm moving, and I probably will never move back here. And that's what I told them. I've never moved back home since I've had my children. I've never had any issues where I had to rely on my parents to live with my parents, move back with my parents. In fact, you know, we've been having celebratory moments where, you know, my mom's able to, you know, work the jobs that she work and afford what she, you know, wants to do and drive. Like, she literally just capped her own little G-Wagon, okay?
Okay.
So it's looking good.
Okay. So what was the first sports property that you went after? Like what was the first thing that you tried to own in the sports arena?
So I'll tell you what I did. I literally went above and beyond, and I called the NBA. Literally, like I literally called them every single day. It was like a 212 general line,
Okay.
and I did research, and I said, okay, I won't be able to talk to the president of the NBA, but I definitely could talk to somebody in their investor relations, or I could talk to somebody in their marketing department. Okay, this is me at 19 years old, and I said, all I need is what's necessary in order to own an NBA team. And I remember a guy answering the phone. He was with investor relations, and he said, if you want to own an NBA team, you first have to have a resume. I still remember him telling me that. And then he said, if we don't have proof that you can run a team, you can't own a team. And I said, well, how would I do that? He said, well, start small and you'll end up growing to be something big. And he was like, you know, I look forward to hearing from you in the next, I think he said like 5 or 10 years, and he like chuckled and he hung up on me. Like, this is no joke. So I said, okay. So I got on, you know, I went online and I looked up franchise ownerships. And I said, what is a substantiable league that I could join in which it will give me experience and I'll be able to run it, you know, with my style, my creativity. I'll have the licenses necessary in order for me to be able to do what I need for my business. And I said, the first thing that came up was I think it was like the BAA. That's the first thing that came up, which was before the ABA. And I said, oh, wow, you know, and it wasn't in effect anymore. And then the ABA popped up. And I said, okay, so this is what created the foundation for our Steph Currys, our LeBron James. Let me look more into this. So after I looked into it more, I noticed that they had a new revived ABA that started in like 2000. And I'm like, this is it. Like, I'm going to just invest into this league because it looks like it's growing. It looks vibrant, and I'm going to just give it a shot. So I literally called up the owner. I paid the franchise fee, and we went from there.
Okay. Now, what year was that, RJ?
That was in 2014. I had started conversations with him when I was literally about 20 years old. I bought my team about 4 years later. Like, I literally just did research every day, all day for like 3 years. And people, like, they literally, they talk about me all the time because they were like, why do you have to do so much research before you invest in something? Like, I will take years before I put my name on something because I want to see how it pans out or how it grows or how it's orchestrated or who it's run by or how this person, a person's going to have a hiccup within 3 to 4 years. So I wait to see if any of those moments will happen. And if it does, I'm like, okay, good. I didn't invest, but I didn't see anything or any issues. So in 2014, I bought the Vipers.
Wow. I mean, this is fat. So you bought the Vipers at 24? Is that right?
Yep. I bought them at 24. And then, I launched it a couple years later. I launched it in 2014. I was the youngest female team owner, I believe, in ABA history.
So let me ask you this, RJ. What were some of the obstacles that you faced? Because obviously people are going to look at your youth. They're going to look at you as a female. They're going to look at you as an African-American female, because I can't imagine there's not many African-American females that own professional sports franchises. What were some of the obstacles that you encountered along your way?
Well, you are correct. There aren't very many. I know there are a few in the league currently, but I want to touch base on one thing before I can go off into the question. Okay. So the ABA, as it was revamped in 2000, did my research and realized that yes, it is the ABA from Julius, Dr. J. Garvin, all of that time frame, but it wasn't the ABA that did the arena placement, the marketing dollars, the franchise advice. I'm going to find your players, scout your players. We're going to hire a professional agent for players. Does that make sense? So like the big things that you need, gear, basketballs, like I said, marketing bucks, all of that has to be done by the owner. Okay. Which is very different from your traditional franchise where you're playing with a $14 million budget if it was an NBA G League team or NBA team. So knowing that, okay, I had to say, okay, you now have to have and be all of these things for your business. You have to now find an arena, right? As a female entrepreneur, you have to find sponsors, you have to get your brand, you have to do your logo, everything legality. Like when I started out, I was looking at the legal part of things before I even, put a ball on the floor, because I figure, okay, you're a woman, you're an African-American woman. The first thing that's going to happen to you is litigation. Like that's just, I don't know, according to research, that's the first thing that happens to most African-American women. They miss the actual legal part. So I hired 6 attorneys and I said, look, this is what I need from y'all. Like I ain't gonna be able to do it by myself. So we all literally broke off and we figured out what was necessary in order for the Vipers brand to be vibrant. That's when we came out with the Libertyville Vipers. We came out with a location in Deerfield, Illinois, and we got everything set up, logo, we got the players, we got the uniforms, and we got the sponsors, and then we opened up our doors and we heard crickets.
Okay.
And we were like, hey, we did everything we needed to do. Where are the people? And they were like, well, you worked so hard at the marketing side, you forgot to engage your audience. And I said, oh, yeah, that does make sense. We're missing bodies. So I went back, I revamped the Vipers, and I went to Vipers Pro Basketball. And I said, okay, now we're going to focus on getting, butts in the seats, right? Which is how I learned the arena placement and how to get an arena full and how to appeal to the millennial market. So after that, now we're pacing at, anywhere between that 250 to 4,000 audience. Now we're in the, sponsorships with those Fortune 500 businesses. Now we're actually partnered with 12 different countries. Like I literally will get on the plane myself and go to different countries. Like right now we have officially partnered and closed with a new project that I'm working on in the UK. So it's been a blessing, and we just keep growing. Oh,
so
we're also at 1 million in analytics.
Wait a minute, RJ. So let me back up, because you
Okay.
said a mouthful there. You said a mouthful.
I know.
And it's a beautiful thing, because you talked law. You said you hired 6 lawyers. You learned stadium placement, seat placement, all the legalities, marketing. You're doing everything by yourself. Is that correct?
Everything, okay. Literally.
Okay, so what gave you the idea, which I think is fascinating, and this is a serious business lesson, viewers, catch this. RJ, why did you look overseas for partnerships?
Well, we have a stigma here that you have to have a certain type of status in order for the people to do business with you. And okay, overseas, they don't have that.
Are you saying it's a stigma here in the United States?
Yes.
Is that what you're referring to?
Over here in the United States, they go off of name, they go off of status, they go off of who you know, they go off of, just the things that are not considered tangible. Because I'm all about, just like the justice system, right? You have to have facts, you have to have proof, right? Because a person can say anything, they can do anything. And a lot of the people that, that I had come to find that were big names, it was like they had the name, but they didn't have the information. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Whereas overseas, they don't care about your name. They just mind sharing the information, or they don't mind, partnerships that'll allow both ends of that partnership to help each company flourish.
Okay. Now
that's why.
How did you get the idea, though? How did that start for you to say, you know what, I am a Black woman in the United States that doesn't have much experience at this, but I'm learning, I'm willing to learn. But how did you open up your mind to even think about looking for partnerships overseas? How did you come to that?
Well, without bashing, I will say the model for the ABA is to place players overseas. That's their model. It's to get players exposure and to get them into paid positions overseas. And as I said before, I do research, I pay attention, I'm watching people's models, the most successful, what's their turnaround, what's the number of players coming in to an organization that's considered, we'll say, either the top organization or the most viewed or growing organization. and how many players are going out into contracts. And I'm seeing like low numbers. You know, I'm thinking to myself like, okay, you know, simple mathematics, X teams versus X players should equal X amount of players going overseas, right? And I'm like, it doesn't add up. So I don't want to be, you know, you know, just like everybody else. I would prefer to actually either live up to the credo in which I stand for, and to prove that I'm able to do what it is that I'm sought after, which is, like I said, ownership goal. And so I went overseas and I said, man, like, I really want to get some of my players placed over here. What do I need to do? And what type of player are you guys looking for as a general player, so that they can get into paid positions, so I can put them into those positions genuinely. And they were like, oh, well, you know, it's the sports industry. First things first, stay away from, you know, X of X. I'm like, noted.
Sure.
And then it's been history ever since. I mean, I've placed over 47 players overseas, and I've only been doing this for about 6 years. So that's literally a team a year since I've been here.
And I know you are really community involved with your franchises.
Yes.
Where did that come from?
Where I grew up. Like I said, you know, I grew up between Michigan and I grew up between Louisiana. And, you know, I've had the unfortunate pleasure of, you know, having friends, you know, we all have the family members. We all have the people that you used to know, that you went to school with, that you kind of wish more, you know, for their outcome. But unfortunately, that just wasn't it. So I literally just said, okay, you know, I'm not going to be one of those business owners that just doesn't give back to the community. You know, if I'm making a presence and I'm trying to change lives in a positive, genuine manner, I'm going to give back, because it's a requirement of me, you know, as a community organization. So I literally, I mean, if you ever have a conversation with my mom, she'll tell you, she's like, man, she used to have all the little community kids in our house, feeding all the community kids. They look like a daycare, or I'm having backpack drives, or I'm doing block parties to make sure that, you know, our youth is taken care of.
Okay. And you know what, RJ, I'm really glad.
So that's pretty much where it came from.
Okay.
I've been that way.
Okay. I'm really glad we have you here, especially during this COVID-19 scenario. What are some of the things that you have to be cognizant of as a professional sports owner for your players, your staff, the people that you employ? What are some of the things that you're really dealing with right now?
Just making sure that we making the right choices. You know, I have a lot of, you know, younger players, just as much as, you know, any player. Most athletes, I feel like they have the notion that they're an athlete, you know, that comes with a privilege. And with privilege comes communication, socializing. So it's just reiterating to them. You know, my staff, I really don't have to have any conversation with, but, you know, reiterating to those, to our younger groups that, you know, you got to be safe. You got to make sure that this social distance thing is being taken serious. You know, this is not a play. It's really a pandemic, and you need to make sure you're doing your part as a pro athlete to spread a positive message, and to make sure that you're following the message, so that way you can help in any way possible while this thing is kind of happening until it dissipates.
Okay.
So that's pretty much where I am with it.
Okay. And then I also read where I believe you have a clothing line, or you started a clothing line. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I had a clothing line for tall women, which I'm actually relaunching. It's Tall City. So I pretty much make pants for like WNBAers. Myself, I mean, I'm a 37-inch inseam with heels. So yeah, I mean, I got tired of going into the traditional store and you up coming out looking like Michael Jackson unintentionally. So I said, I'm going to, you know, create a new little wave here. So it's been doing good.
Okay. I'm sure, because I mean, you know, for WNBA players, I mean, I covered as you may or may not know, I covered the WNBA for 5 or 6 years, and some of those ladies, their inseams, like you said, your inseam is 37 because you like to wear heels.
Yep.
Yeah, I got it.
And theirs is about 45, 46. I've seen some at 48, 52s. Wow. So yeah.
So wow, I'm sure you have.
And it's okay. They could go through me. I'm gonna get them right for fashion too, because that's the thing. They'll have long pants, but they're not fashionable. I'm like, I'm not wearing this. It's not gonna work.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you. All right. So you said you're gonna relaunch that. So it sounds like you're Jamaican, RJ, because you're doing this. You got this going. You're doing something in Jamaica. Aren't you doing something in Jamaica around basketball camps? Or
yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, it not just Jamaica, it's really the Caribbeans in general. I can't talk a lot on it because I'm really under an NDA, and that was really at my own fault because, you know, I start the legal first. But for what I can say is a lot of these third world countries, they don't have the ability to have a lot of the privilege that we have here in the United States. I don't think that people really understand the detriment and the importance of girls wearing shorts in these third world countries, and them being involved in after school activities where somebody can kind of keep an eye on them and watch them as their parents, you know, kind of work enough to afford, you know, the household. So for us, we're just looking to build basketball, create not just camps, but literal leagues, teams, things of that nature, just to keep the community busy. And so far it's locked in and it's looking really good. We're waiting for one major partner to finalize, and you'll be seeing a little bit more of not just the Vipers, but you know, you'll be seeing a little bit more as far as the Vipers Youth Sports Academy and some things of that nature.
Okay, now where do the Vipers currently play?
We are now considered Gurney's pro basketball team. So we're in Gurney, Illinois. If you've ever been to Gurney, you know, like Six Flags, Great America, Gurney Mills Mall, we are now officially Gurney's pro team, which is good because it's a really big area for tourism and attraction. So we're happy to be here.
Yeah, I drive by Gurney every time because I might as well pay taxes in the state of Wisconsin as many Marquette and Wisconsin games that I call. So I come past that area quite a bit. So that's
so you know the area. It's a really great environment, and I can't thank them enough at how much they've supported us and brought us in and showed us love and became, you know, like literally a part of the Vipers family at this point. So we're really looking forward, you know, amid everything kind of smooths down. We definitely look forward to, you know, our upcoming seasons.
And okay, so now we're gonna get to the fun stuff. All right. So share with us a story, a funny story about being an owner. Does anything come to mind?
Woo. Man, I have plenty. You know, the funnest part that I can say is I like how we are a family oriented like group, you know, like we literally are all family. We have our moments where, you know, stuff is thick. Everybody knows before a season, that's probably the most intense time for every owner, every coach, every player. And I tell you, we have such an eclectic group of personalities, okay, that everybody takes it very seriously. So we have our family arguments, okay, we have our moments, but we always seem to come together and make sure that we accomplish the overall end goal. I would say probably the funniest thing, if I had to mention, it would be their imitations of me when I get upset. Oh, everybody has the RJ voice, which I still don't know what this one voice is that everybody imitates me as, but that's probably the funniest thing is when everyone gives the RJ White impression. So,
okay,
yes.
That's pretty cool. And that leads me to my next question, because how are you received by these players? I mean, because
I have their utmost level of respect. I've never had any issues. They really, I mean, like I said, you know, I grew up being able to handle my own. So, you know, I've never really had to show a person my other personality that I've been blessed to have. But I think they kind of already sense that's there. So we just keep it moving as a family, and we just, you know, we stay trying to progress. I think it's because everybody has the goal in mind, if that makes sense. Like, and I told most of my players, I said, you know, this might not happen overnight, it might not happen in a year, and it might need to happen in 2 years. But, you know, as long as we stay consistent and as long as we are genuine and we literally put the time in, it'll work. So that's kind of what we've been going.
Okay. Who is the best player, in your opinion, that has come through the Vipers since you've been the owner?
Best player? See, you trying to make my phone blow up because
no.
People are like, how you gonna pick him over me?
No. I just want to get some players that our viewers would recognize and be like, oh, okay, I remember him.
I'm gonna go with what's current right now, and I'm gonna go with my point guard. I'm gonna go with Devontae Cole. I mean, he's Mr. 41 at this point. This man could get, you know, buck with his eyes closed. He takes some really unique shots, and you would be like, man, that ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna go in. But he says like, I practiced that shot. I practiced that shot 1,000 times. I knew it was gonna go in. So I'm gonna go with Devontae Cole. I call him the crybaby, but he definitely has the Vipers organization study him, along with Jabari Alex and Asante Dixon. Between him, those three guys, I think they keep the Vipers organization either at all or, and wow. So yes.
What's been the toughest adjustment for you as a female owner of male-dominated sports, team? What's been the toughest challenge?
The toughest challenge would probably be like the competition is fierce, but I really wouldn't call it competition, and that's not me being cocky. I would say it's more of the cloning. When people see somebody doing something, they see it's effective and that it works for them. People tend to attempt to clone it. And I just, when you see your work, you just know your work because you've made sure you've made that, uniqueness to it. So that's probably the toughest thing is just seeing it and just not saying anything. You just like, I have people all around me now that tell me like, man, they feel like you're doing a good job. They feel like what you're doing is great. So they're going to mimic it. Like, you can't get mad. Like, it's just like, Jay-Z and Beyonce. People actually restructure their bodies and faces to look like Beyonce. They're like, how you going to get mad? And I'm like, all right.
Well, imitation is the highest form of flattery. That is true. That is
very true.
Okay. So, RJ, can you cook?
Absolutely. I said I was back and forth between Michigan and New Orleans or Louisiana. So
yeah. But you can cook now.
Let me tell you, yes, I can cook very much so.
What's your favorite dish to prepare?
Pot roast fries. If I eat that one more time, I know everybody in my house is gonna be like, look, I'm sick of this. But yeah, pot roast fries is probably my favorite. If it's not that, then it's catfish everything. So it's either catfish tacos, fried catfish with sweet potatoes, or it's usually catfish or roast. Pot roast fries. I know my kids probably tired of it, but it's a habit.
Is there a business person that you admire the most?
Trying to think if I do have one. I wouldn't say it's anybody that I would really admire. I love the business model behind the Lakers. Okay. Like, I really like their business model. From the outside looking in as a professional team owner, you see just a few hiccups and you like, man, like if I was in the position, like I could get that together. But, other than that, I would go with the Lakers and the Lakers brand.
Okay. And then now your goal is to own a G League or NBA team.
Yes.
From the time that you started calling the NBA to now, how far do you think you have left to be able to accomplish your goal?
I honestly don't feel like I'm that far away. I mean, I literally at this point, not to name any names, or I'm not going to like name drop or anything, but at this point, I get some unique phone calls. I've gotten some offers from some pretty high-end teams, but it just wasn't what I was looking for. Like, to me, I'm looking for, like I said, ownership or a president role over a G League or NBA team. So I don't really want to settle for anything else. I've been offered director of operations, guaranteed a 2-year contract for director of operations, but it's just not my thing, because at some point I would have to walk up to somebody and give them an idea in which I can't guarantee that my name stamp will be on. So until that president role happens, which it doesn't seem too far away, I probably will be copacetic where I am.
So for young women who are watching this, who aspire to get into the business side of sports, what advice would you give them?
Don't give up. I think the hardest thing for women is we tend to be harder on ourselves. And then we also have to take the time to nurture, like whether ourselves, our family, those around us, and we lose focus. So you have to literally don't give up, stay focused, and train your mind. I think that's the biggest thing with any business owner. The minute that you start, getting too unprioritized mentally is when you start running into some issues when it comes to your success. So that's probably what I would say.
Okay, so how many children do you have now, RJ?
I have 5.
You have 5. So wait a minute.
Yep.
5, clothesline, owner of the Vipers. You had an ownership interest in another franchise as well, right?
Oh yeah, I'm under NDAs right now, but you'll be hearing a lot more about what I'm doing in give me about 3 to 6 months. Overseas ventures, I've bought into another franchise overseas. I'm the only female owner to own a overseas franchise of that caliber. If you're thinking about, your big franchises, like, we'll say as a comparison with like an Australia market, okay, for their D1 or Division One
market. Yes.
Yes. So if you think about those level of teams, that is literally a clone practically of a G League team here in the US. So I am, grateful to say that I am a pending team owner overseas.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been, I have to say, it's been one of my favorite interviews because RJ and I have been talking briefly, off and on through LinkedIn because she's extremely busy. I'm traveling around the country, but we got a chance to finally connect. She reached back out to me, and I'm so happy that I was able to bring RJ onto our show because I think that basketball is, you guys have heard me say this, it's by far the best sport. I think our fraternity is the best in the world. We have to say fraternity/sorority because we've got our women in the game as well who are just as impactful like RJ here. And so, RJ, where can people find you on social media?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn under RJ White. I'm on Instagram under _real RJ White. And I'm pretty much, if you type in Google RJ White, Vipers Pro Basketball, website, everything will definitely pop up. Or if you want to check out the Vipers, we're at vipersprobasketball.com.
Is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up?
I just say follow me. I mean, you never know what might be announced pretty soon. But I would say that my goals are very much in reach or in distance.
So RJ, can we bring you back after some of those announcements have been made and you can kind of share with us some of the new ventures that you're involved with?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I think your journey is fantastic. It's inspiring. And I think that, you're a force to be reckoned with. And I'd love to stay in touch with you further. So RJ, thanks so much for joining Bartles Breakdown here today.
Thank you. I appreciate you for having me.
All right, that'll do it for this edition of Bartles Breakdown. See, I told you guys, you got to keep coming back to the page because we have some fantastic stories, journeys, and people like RJ White here and former professional basketball players on the WNBA side and NBA side that we'll be bringing to you daily. So we'll get through this together. Make sure you do all the safety protocol. Stay sharp. Stay together with your family, and we'll get through this. Until next time, y'all take care. Peace.